Hi everybody, this is Brody Dolinek and I'm here to do a tutorial on how I do my Facebook Live video stream setup. Had a lot of musician friends ask me how I'm doing it. I've only done 3 live shows so far and I'm still learning the process, but to sum it up, I wanted to do more than just sort of stick a camera phone or a smartphone in front of me and just sort of, strum a guitar and record through that. Even though that's great for most people, I wanted to be able to have a better quality microphone and put some reverb on it and play my virtual instruments in my software and kind of do all this internally with my computer without any or at least very little external hardware. So I'm going to walk you through my setup right now. Basically, for starters, you're looking at the Lumix camera from Panasonic sitting on a tripod back there behind the desk. And then I'm going to go to my picture-in-picture mode, and you're going to see over here my iPhone, which I'll put that full screen. There it is. Hi. And I've got a picture-in-picture mode here. So first thing I'm going to do is pull up a diagram for you. I drew a diagram and I'll show you kind of the signal flow chart here. If you look at the top left, you'll see a guitar and a microphone. Those are my physical, real world analog instruments that are being plugged into that red Focusrite Sapphire, Focusrite Claret audio interface. That's where all the physical in and out happens. Instruments go in there, microphones go in there, speakers. If I want to listen to speakers here in my studio, the outputs come out of the backside of that. So that's everything physical happens there. Moving over to the top right, you'll see the MainStage application, which I'm going to show you a full screen of that right now. MainStage is an Apple program. For those who don't know, it's basically an extension of their Logic recording software, and it's designed for live performance. I use this application on a laptop computer in many of my live shows. If I'm playing guitar or keyboards, I'll run my instruments through there. They'll get their processing done and then spit them back out to the analog world. In this case, I've got my microphone coming in there. You can see the little LED lighting up there on the meter for my vocal channel. On the far left, you'll see, and let me just pull that up real quick. You'll see me scrolling through different patches on the left. Each one of those is basically like a little a patch for a particular song. It can have one to several instruments layered on different, layers of the keyboard, etc. They could be stacked on top of each other like a grand piano and a pad. I've also got my acoustic guitar inputs coming in there, and as you can see, I'm sending them through some compression and EQ and a little bit of reverb. Electric guitars at the bottom there, and so on and so forth. So yeah, everything vocally and instrumentally is happening through MainStage. I'm going to also show you a program called QLab, which is running on another screen right now. That's where all my backing tracks are. And what you're seeing there is a very simplified playlist that I can scroll through and hit play. But really what that is a much more complicated program, and those little cues that say Start Crazy Love is pointing to a folder that's got several, audio stems or audio tracks in there all running together. So they could be drums, bass, guitar, backing vocals, sound effects, whatever. And I can, of course, go back and individually control all those levels to my liking. But what you're looking at here is basically playlist mode. So I'm just hitting play. And so from there, we open up a program called the Focusrite control panel. Remember the red Claret 8 Pre interface I was talking about, where all the hardware in and out happens? Well, it also has a virtual control panel inside the software. And what this allows me to do is take all my sources now. So I've got everything coming from MainStage, which is vocals and instruments, coming into, and I'm going to put my cursor on there so you can, or at least see what's happening. You're seeing my voice right now. So if I pull that, hang on one second. If I go to this mix and I pull that fader down, you should hear it go away, or maybe you don't. I don't know. Any rate, instruments, vocals, and tracks are all coming into Focusrite's control panel, and I can control the levels both for what I want to send to Facebook Live and also what I want to hear in my headphone mix for a monitor for myself. So those are obviously very different mixes. What you're looking at now is output 7 and 8. That's going to my headphone mix. So you'll see that I've got more of my vocal than anything else. I've got the tracks and instruments pulled down a little bit. I've got QLab pulled down a little bit. And I've got click track coming for myself. When I'm running tracks in QLab, I'm sending a click track to only myself, so I can hear that in my ears. What's going out to the Facebook Live is a bit complicated, and here's where it gets really tricky. This took a lot of trial and error, and it took some help from my friend Jamie Hosmer to figure this out. But basically, what I had to figure out was, for some reason, Facebook was not seeing this stuff. Even though I had what I thought logically was outputs 1 and 2, I thought that would be visible on Facebook, but it wasn't. No matter what I did, it just wasn't working. So I had to dig, and I did some research online. Had to figure out that finally what I had to do was create a loopback situation. So what I did was I went down to where it says SPDIF, or SPDIF, I like to call it, outputs 1 and 2. I created my mix for that, which essentially is everything up balanced. That's the mix that's going out to Facebook. But to get Facebook to see that audio, it took a couple things. I had to go back to the backside of my red Focusrite interface and take an RCA cable and connect the SPDIF out jack to the SPDIF in jack. And by doing that, it created a virtual loop. Even then, I still wasn't able to see the audio coming in to Facebook. And Jamie Hosmer turned me on to an application called Loopback, which I'm going to show you right now. Now, until I got this, none of this worked. But what you can see, hopefully, is in Loopback, you'll see the Claret 8 pre-USB interface. And then down below, you'll see outputs 9 and 10, and you'll see some signal happening on those channels. That's where the main output of Focusrite is by default being sent out of. I don't know why, but that's where it appeared and that's where it showed up. So what I did was I dragged or drew these two virtual cables, these patch cables from 9 and 10. Let me see if I can get my cursor to appear on there. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm selecting them now, the top and the bottom little patch cables, and dragging them to channels 1 and 2 over here. By doing that, I suddenly was in business, and Facebook was able to see that output out of Loopback audio. But you got to stay with me here because we're not done yet. This is actually quite tricky, and you've got to do all these things, or at least I had to do all these things to get this to work. So now all my output from QLab, MainStage, is all coming into Focusrite. Focusrite is being output on channels 9 and 10 because I routed the SPDIF 9 and 10 output back to itself. So now it's seeing it as an input. Okay, so now input 9 and 10 basically is really my output 9 and 10. And it's going out to this top right channel 1 and 2. You see up here on the top right where I'm dragging this around? Those are the two channels that you're ultimately going to be sending to Facebook. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to move on to showing you my full screen here. And you can see I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff right now because we've already talked about this. Now, this is the heart of the system. This is OBS, and it's a free download. You can Google search it. I'll put a link down below when I'm done with this video. But luckily, it's a great piece of software that's absolutely free. And it's basically a virtual broadcast studio, both for your video capture devices, your cameras, and also your audio input stream, which is, as we now discussed, coming from Loopback into OBS. So how did I get the audio into OBS? Well, I had to go into my settings pane, which I'll open up and pull that over here to the side. And over here in the drop-down menu for audio, what you're going to do is go over here to devices. Forget these first two because you're not using your desktop. In fact, you want to disable this. You want to disable your desktop audio. Both 1 and 2. You don't need these. The only audio that I'm concerned with is that mix that I'm trying to send out to Facebook, and that's coming through Loopback audio. Loopback audio basically shows up as a virtual audio device. Okay, so you're going to select Loopback audio, and we'll talk about video and the stream stuff later, but let's just stay on audio for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. And by doing that, what you're going to see here is in your audio mixer, your I think it was originally it was labeled mic/auxiliary because that's what it's called in the settings pane. It's called audio mic auxiliary audio. Okay, so by default it was called mic auxiliary audio here. I changed the name by I think hitting this and hitting rename. So that's my main audio, right? That's everything that I'm sending in through tracks, through MainStage, mixing it, and then outputting it. It's coming in here as one stereo mix. Okay, so that's being sent full value right there. So that's how I got my audio path, and that's a complicated thing. Now let's talk about video for a second. You can do this with one camera. You can do it with a number of cameras. I've got two. So what you're going to do is create scenes. Over here in this little window, I've created all these different scenes, and each one of those represents something different that I want to either display visually or in terms of audio. Mostly this is a video switcher at this point. So I'm switching between my full screen capture, which is what you're seeing now. I can capture just the MainStage application, QLab. I can go back to my various cameras. But so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm selecting those here. Just with a mouse click, okay? Within each one of these scenes, you have to set up sources. So let's say you want to create up a scene. Well, okay, I want to create a scene that says Lumix camera. I want to capture just my Lumix camera, this guy right here, right? Well, so you create a new scene called Lumix camera, and then within that scene, you've got to go over here to where it says sources and create a new source for that scene. You can have multiple sources happening in one scene. In the case of the Lumix camera, and unfortunately I can't show you it because when I click on that, it goes to the camera and you don't see the menu here. But in the Lumix camera scene, what I've got is a new source. I hit plus, and then from the drop-down menu, you're going to choose video capture device for that instance, because I'm sending that Lumix camera in through a little video USB capture device from Magwell. So I chose that, and then suddenly with the camera running and with all the settings correct, it's seeing that camera. I did the same thing for the iPhone, although to get the iPhone to work with OBS, you've got to do two things. You've got to install another little plugin, which is also available on the OBS website in their download section. And then you got to buy, I think it's a $15 app for your iPhone. So I know what you're thinking, like, oh my God, this is already way too much trouble than I want to deal with and too much expense. And you're right. For most people, this is way more work than it's worth. But I'm just kind of nuts like that. I'm just kind of nutty. I want to see how I can do this to the best of my ability. So this is what I did. So for example, for the scene that says iPhone camera, I created a new source, and I found my iPhone in the drop-down menu because I installed that application and I installed that plugin. So it was able to recognize it as a source. So blah, blah, blah. You can also create scenes and sources for capturing your screen on your computer, which is what I've been doing to demonstrate that. You can set up, you'll see when I have one here set up called Thank You. When I'm done with my performance and I say thanks everybody for watching and I put this little menu up here, you're seeing a background image that I pulled off the internet, this little palm tree thing. And I also added another source for text, which you can type in whatever you want to say and position it wherever you want to put it. In this case, I put my PayPal and Venmo info in case somebody wanted to drop me a tip. I also created a standby screen for before I go live, and even a countdown thing. And what this was a video file on my computer. I just selected it as a source, and I play that, and when it gets to the end of the countdown, I go live, and I switch to my picture-in-picture mode camera thing. Okay, So you've got your video coming in, you've got your audio coming in. How do you get it to Facebook? There's still a few more steps you got to do. So follow along here. I'm going to go full screen here. I'm going to open up Google Chrome browser, which I've found I'm having better luck with that than Safari these days. So you want to go live, right? Okay, so you've got your Facebook page open. I clicked on my name here. And then what do you want to do? You want to create a new live video. Okay. It's going to open up a window and it's going to ask you a couple questions. You can either just pull it straight off of your camera. Let's say you've got an iPhone connected via USB or something to your camera. You can do that. But we're doing this through OBS. So what we're going to do is use a stream key. And when you do that, you got to scroll down here a little bit and you'll see Live API, stream key. Okay? You're going to copy this code. And this seems crazy, but I'm telling you, once you get the hang of this, it's not so bad. You've copied that code. You're going to come back over to OBS and hit your settings menu down here. And then you're going to go to where it says stream. Now you can see where it says stream key. I've already pasted one in from a previous session, so I'm going to select that whole thing by double-clicking it, delete. And now I'm going to paste the new code into there, right? This is the new code I just got from Facebook, and you got to do this every time you go live. I'm going to hit OK, and you're going to see Facebook says waiting for live video. Okay, so to start streaming, you're ready to go now, right? You're going to hit start streaming, and in my case, let's say I put up my standby screen first. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. But for now, let's just show you how to go live. I'm going to hit start streaming. And now look over here on Facebook, you're going to see it says connecting live video. Give it a couple seconds. Now you're seeing the live stream, but you're still not live yet until you go live. So this is a good test. This is to show that, okay, my software is working, OBS is broadcasting, and I can see that over here. Now I'm going to hit go live. A couple things before you go live. Right now I've got only me selected. You can choose if you want to make this a public stream or private. You can put just your friends or select friends, specific friends. For now, I'm doing only me because this is just a test video and I don't want to like air this to the public. So I've got only me selected, and now I'm going to hit go live. Give it a few seconds to start processing the feed. And in a couple seconds, you should see a little red indicator that says you're live. Okay, there it is. See that little window there? It says live. And you can see that it says end live video, and there's a little clock running here. That means we've been live now for 10 seconds. Okay, so you are live now. So now I can start doing my thing, right? I'm going to open up MainStage, and I would have already had this done before going live, but so there I am. There's my keyboard sound. My vocal microphone, I can put on some effects. 1, 2, 3, ha, ha, ha. Okay, got it? So now we're satisfied with our performance, or we're ready to kill ourselves, either one. But we're done with our show, and we say thanks everybody for watching. So the last thing I'm going to do is probably throw up my thank you screen so that it puts my little payment info and my little thanks for watching little banter. And then I'm going to hit end live video over here in Facebook, right? And it says end live video. Yes, we want to end it. And when you do that, just to be sure, you're going to go back over to OBS and hit stop streaming. You'll notice I also have been recording this. It says stop recording. You can record your stream to your local hard drive as you're streaming it at the same time. This is how I'm making this tutorial video, is by recording it locally here. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to hit stop recording. And to be able to use that file anywhere, it's going to record it into a format called, I think it's FLV, which you can't really do much with that. It's a weird sort of encryption package codec or something like that. So what you're going to do is when you hit stop recording, you're going to go to the file menu here in OBS, and there's a drop-down window that says Remux Recordings. You hit that, you select the file that you just recorded, hit remux, and it will remux them. And what it does is it repackages it into whatever format you choose. In my case, QuickTime Movie, MOV, excuse me, is the format that I'm going to choose. And then I can drag it into my editing software if I want to clean it up, cut out any dead air, blah, blah, blah. You know, I can further tweak the audio or whatever, or adjust the color grade on the picture or whatever you want for your recording. But of course, what you've streamed out to Facebook, just it went out as it was. It went out, mistakes and all. So that's how I'm doing my shows. I've only done this 3 times. I learn something every single time. And even stuff that I've learned, sometimes I forget it. I'm like, I forgot to put up the thank you screen, or I forgot to hit record here, or blah blah blah. So it seems like there's always something. It's a deep learning curve to get it initially going, but once you've done it a couple of times, it gets to be, very familiar. So I'm going to put up my camera just to thank you all for watching. This is something see. Here's something new that's happening right now. You're noticing there's like a black border around my camera. It wasn't there before, but once I went live and I came back to this, it did this. So I think it's a glitch within the software. I'm going to look into that next. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've had a lot of questions how I've done this. I hope that answers them. If you got a further question, send me a message or a comment below, and I'll try my best to answer them. I hope you're all doing well. Hang in there. This is our new normal for a while. Who knows if it's another month or 2 months or another year. I hope it's not another year. But I hope you're all doing well, and I hope this helps you in some way. Anyway, thanks for watching, and take care.